The Toronto Raptors have a massive problem. Standing at 1-11 against top 3 teams in either conference, the Toronto Raptors are unable to beat any of the top teams in the NBA, and the way we lose these games is starting to become a pattern. We go out to a double-digit lead, and we end up blowing it. We go through periods of the game where we can't score, and we give up a massive run. These are constant things that are happening in all of these games. So I'm here to talk about what has been going wrong for the Toronto Raptors in these games, specifically highlighting the 2 most recent games, which we very well could have won and very well would have been marquee wins on this Raptors season against the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. And I'm going to be talking about what went wrong in both of those games, because there are a lot of parallels to draw from them. And yes, this kind of acts as the Raptors rundown episode. I understand it's a little bit late. This game happened, I think, 4 days ago. At least the OKC Thunder one. And in fact, I'm recording this after the Washington Wizards game had happened. So I know the result of that. I'm going to be recording a separate Raptors rundown for that one. I just wanted to sort of make this a sort of specialer episode where I actually take a deep dive into what has been going wrong for us. And starting off, let's just talk about the runs. Against the San Antonio Spurs, the Toronto Raptors gave up a 35-17 run to end the game. That included a 32-10 run at one point, a 10-0 run to start the fourth quarter, and overall just a complete collapse for a Toronto Raptors team that led by as much as 15 in that game. And then when you talk about the OKC Thunder game, the largest run that we gave up in that game was 25-8, and this is a pattern we've seen throughout the season. But I wanted to take a deep dive into that 10-0 run that we gave up to start the fourth quarter, as a lot of Raptors fans seem to think that that was the main turning point. So I wanted to key in on some of the defensive plays, some of the buckets that the San Antonio Spurs were able to score. This clip's actually at the end of the third quarter. Solid defense overall, just a late rotation on a poor shooter in Stephon Castle, a little bit excusable on our end. These next 3 plays are where it gets frustrating. You see RJ Barrett get caught up on a screen, not willing to fight over it, not showing enough effort, and it leads to a wide open Devin Vassell dunk. In this play, Victor Wembanyama takes a long contested 2-pointer, and we are unable to punish them. 3 guys in the paint, and we get out-rebounded by Dylan Harper, leading to a wide-open Stephon Castle 3. And the last play is a simple screen and roll where Jamal Shea gets caught up on the screen, and we leave a wide-open Victor Wembanyama cutting to the basket for the easy alley-oop. This was the easiest 10-0 run of the San Antonio Spurs season. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, which was an absolute collapse from the Toronto Raptors, who were sitting with a very comfortable 15-point lead in this game. I think in both the San Antonio Spurs game and the Oklahoma City Thunder game, and many other games in the past, we have established that the Toronto Raptors are not a good enough team offensively. But I will say, when they play good, competitive, engaged defense, they're able to buy themselves more chances to generate some better offense. The issue becomes when our defense becomes disengaged. When it's disengaged, our offense is not good enough to keep up with some of these elite offenses in the NBA. A lot of the better teams in the NBA can actually get away with a couple of plays where they're sleeping on the defensive end because their offensive capabilities are much stronger than theirs. They're able to keep up with the scoring outburst of other teams. We aren't able to do that at all. And these are NBA offenses that are going to punish our poor defense. And it's why, win or lose, we end up blowing these big leads in these games. It's a constant pattern with these games. At one point of the game, our team will lose focus, the other team will go on a double-digit run, and Darko Rajakovic will be forced to take a timeout just to tell his team to get more engaged on the defensive end. I think that's why we have such a good record against these bad teams, is because when we do go on these stretches of poor defense, these teams just aren't good enough, and they have their own issues to worry about, whether it's poor shooting or their own poor defense that sort of keeps us in the game until we start figuring it out and get re-engaged on the defensive end. But it is also why we've been able to lose some of these games, like against the Washington Wizards and against the Brooklyn Nets. These are still NBA offenses that if you give them good opportunities, they will punish you. And I think it's come to the point where with this team, I genuinely think if we want a chance to beat any of the elite teams, we have to play 48 minutes of competitive, engaged defense. Otherwise, we will lose these games. And I think one way we can manage to do that is to always have some sort of defensive anchor on the floor. Whether it's Scotty Barnes, Colin Murray-Boyles, or even at minimum Jamal Shead, I think one of them needs to be on the floor at all times. None of these experimental lineups that Darko Rajakovic likes putting out there. He put out a really poor defensive lineup to start the fourth quarter against the San Antonio Spurs, and that is what ended up costing us the game. The second biggest issue for the Toronto Raptors that I see a lot is the issue of not staying connected to some of these hot shooters. What do I mean by this? I will use the examples of two players that absolutely torched us. Isaiah Joe, who hit 6 threes against us, and Devin Vassell, who hit 4 threes against us. And I'm going to commentate as we go over these because as you're watching some of these three-point shots, you're seeing a very common pattern. You're seeing either these players get low or late closeouts from our defense, leading to a basically wide open shot for some of these elite shooters like a Devin Vassell or an Isaiah Joe or even a Cason Wallace who torched us as well. Or you're just seeing a complete lack of focus from us and some wide open threes for some of the best shooters in the league. It's ridiculous to see guys like Devin Vassell who are torching us at this time. In fact, like the San Antonio Spurs game, it felt like we were able to contest Devin Vassell's shots better at the start of the game compared to as it went on. It was like he kept getting even more open and open as the game went on. Like that play, the last three that he hit against the Toronto Raptors, Devin Vassell, he was wide open just because of a late rotation from RJ Barrett. Isaiah Joe, who's been averaging like 23 points for the OKC Thunder in the past like 10 games, and he's getting wide open threes against a supposed top 5 defense in the NBA. It's a mix of late closeouts, low energy, disengaged on the defensive end. It is insane to see. Isaiah Joe hit some ridiculous 4-point plays. You can't do anything about that. But when you were leaving that elite of a 3-point shooter wide open, you are just asking for these teams to go on a massive run. And a lot of the time, our offense comes from our defensive plays. And that is what is so frustrating. How can our offense play well when our defense is struggling as much as it is? I feel that this has to be a massive point of emphasis from Darko Rajakovic on the defensive end. Staying connected to these 3-point shooters and not giving them any good looks from 3 as much as we could limit them. The last point of emphasis that I'm going to talk about is offensively, we have such a bad habit of going late into the shot clock, and this is especially the case with a player like Brandon Ingram. It's the same thing. We'll take 15 seconds off the shot clock trying to find him the ball in the post, and then at that point we spend like 6 seconds getting into the front court, 15 seconds, that's 21 seconds off the shot clock. Brandon Ingram's got 3 seconds left to create his own shot. He needs way more time than that. In 2 games against the New York Knicks, in 1 game against the Boston Celtics, and in 1 game against the Houston Rockets, we had a double-digit lead. And let's not forget these games against the San Antonio Spurs and against the Oklahoma City Thunder. We have been able to win at least like 6 of these losses. Could have been very huge, marquee, massive wins for us this season, and we have blown leads in every single one of them. I said that in the 10-game stretch leading after the All-Star break, a win for the Toronto Raptors would be to go above 500 in that stretch, 6-4, because 5 of those games are against really bad teams, and 5 of them are against really good teams. So far, we have beat all of the bad teams that we've played, and we have lost to every single good team we have played. And I don't know if the Toronto Raptors realize this, but you are not going to be playing the Chicago Bulls, the Washington Wizards, or the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs. You're going to be playing teams like the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Well, not if you're in the East, but you get what I mean. You're going to be playing good teams in the playoffs. And until their offense improves drastically, they start shooting a lot better than they are currently, they're going to have to rely on their defense. Their defense is going to win them these games. And unfortunately, it feels that we're going to have to play 48 minutes of elite, engaged, tough defense to even have a chance at winning a round in the playoffs. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Raptors Rundown. I hope you enjoyed a little bit different of a style of a video. I'm trying some new things. I hope to get a couple more. I want to record the Washington Wizards video tomorrow, get that out as soon as possible. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode of the Raptors Rundown. Peace out.